Hi there. I'm out in the woods this morning, taking a walk where I like to be, and also hoping to get some wildlife photos, mostly some deer. That's the most common thing around here. Um, but one thing about wildlife photos, when you get them, you want to have what's called shallow depth of field. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, what that depth of field means is it's just the range of focus in a photograph. That's the kind of simplest definitions I would tell my students, is that it's the range of focus in a photograph. And then with wildlife, normally you want that range of focus to be very minimal so that you focus on the animal and not the background. And there's a number of ways you can achieve shallow depth of field. One is by a telephoto lens. The longer your lens, the less depth of field you get in a photograph. And the wide angle lens is going to get more depth of field. And another way you can control your depth of field is by the setting of your aperture. Now, the aperture controls how much light comes into your camera through an opening in your lens. And normally you want that opening wide open, or as wide as your lens will allow it. Some lenses will allow it to be to a number that's called 2.8 or 4 or 5.6. So here's a photograph I'm going to put up. I'm going to put a couple photographs up here and you can see what I'm talking about. This is an elk. It was shot at 300 millimeter lens, which is telephoto lens, at 5.6. It's got good enough depth of field to get the whole elk in focus, but yet that background mountain is completely blurred out. And which also is another thing that affects depth of field, is how far away the background is. And in this photograph, you can see the background's very far away, so it's not in focus. And this second photograph of an elk is taken actually with a 420 millimeter focal length, and at 5.6 as well, but it has even less depth of field because it's closer up, which is another thing that affects depth of field, is how close you are to something. And that telephoto lens takes us right in on its face for a nice portrait of this elk. And the background is really blurred out, you know, with a combination of that 420 millimeter focal length, the 5.6 lens opening, and as well as how close the elk is to the camera. Now here's another photograph that's even closer to the animal, this whooping crane. And as you can see from the whooping crane, that background is completely gone, right? You can't even tell what it is. You can just see it's green, which is good. You don't want a city building back there, even though it's out of focus, but we got natural stuff for the whooping crane. And that is also taken with a 420 millimeter focal length at 5.6. So that completely makes the background go blurry. Now in this photograph, we have a cheetah, and it's only taken with a 200 millimeter lens, which is also a telephoto, but not as long as a 420 millimeter focal length or a 300 millimeter focal length. This is only a 200 millimeter focal length, and you can see its background's blurred, but that's because it's at 2.8, and 2.8 is a very wide open aperture. Some lenses don't even go that wide, but some of the more expensive lenses will go to a 2.8 aperture, and you can see that completely knocks out the background, because all we need in focus is that cheetah. So you can see what's going on with that photograph.